Good morning! Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Maayong buntag kaninyong tanan. Today is the first day of school and we do hope that you survive the manic Monday traffic. I did, and I think my gorgeous partner over here did as well. I'm former Press Secretary Mike Toledo from Joseph Estrada's administration.
Good Monday morning. May we all enjoy a good week start. Yes, I came early. I am former spokesperson Margaux Salcedo, also from President Joseph Estrada's administration.
And we are the Spokes. You know, it's good to be back, Margaux, because as you know, I was away for a while. I had to join the trip of the state visit of the president to Tokyo, which, by the way, was very successful. The thing is, I noticed that while I was away, you were on the show on the Spokes with someone else.
Did I break your heart?
A bit.
Did I break your heart? But it's because you left me. So how successful was it? Did you also sing with the Prime Minister of Japan?
I didn't have the chance to sing with the Prime Minister, but it's a very successful trip because we renewed our ties with of course, with the new Emperor and the Empress, as well as businesses, as well, which is very important because the Japanese still continue to believe in investing in the Philippines.
Yes, they have a very good ambassador, Endo.
I am. Good morning, Ambassador Endo. And now from the Palace Halls to our group chats.
We will give you perspectives from an insider's position standing behind the podium.
And just in from last night, another piece of good news for the country and for Philippine sports. Alex Ayala wins her second Women's Tennis Association or WTA title as she became the Birmingham 125 Open champion.
Congratulations, Alex. She clinched her first WTA title last year at the Guadalajara Open, and she makes history in Asia. She also made history in Asia as the first Southeast Asian woman to obtain a Birmingham Open tennis championship as a single player. Really great news. The last time an Asian won the title was 16 years ago in 2010 when Chinese Lina defeated Maria Sharapova. Other Birmingham champions include Billie Jean King, Maria Sharapova, and Martina Navratilova. Did you watch it?
I didn't have the chance to watch, but indeed, Alex is a phenomenon. And definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if she's going to be doing so well when the Olympics come in 2028, if I'm not mistaken. And really, this is such an accomplishment for Philippine sports. And that also goes to show the kind of support the public sector as well as the government is giving to sports. Years back, USA's Pam Shriver has the most number of titles, that's according to statistics, having won the championship at least 4 times, and that was consecutively from 1984 to 1988. Amazing.
We're so proud of Alex. Of course, we're looking forward to her performance at Wimbledon.
Definitely.
It has been a dream of hers since she was a child.
Yes.
And she's been playing, apparently I was watching old clips of her, and she's been playing since she was 4 years old. And we just really have to respect her grit and her IQ and EQ. And she also, of course, at the Roland Garros.
Yes, French Open, yes.
She was the first round pa lang.
Yes.
But that was clay. And I think she's been practicing with grass.
With grass.
So people are really looking forward to her performance at Wimbledon.
Exactly. And they say that Birmingham is a stepping stone for Wimbledon. So we're going to watch her closely and we'll be rooting for her. And it's not only us, but the whole Philippines. She's actually a rock star. Every time she plays, the Filipinos all over the world are there to support her. So from Bilyonaryo News Channel, congratulations again, Alex Ayala, and continue to bring glory to the country. When I used to play tennis also years back, and I used to, my idols were Bjorn Borg.
Naka-carbon date po siya.
Carbon date, yeah.
1980s.
And Navratilova, of course, yeah. But anyway. Okay.
Yes, and you know who else plays tennis regularly is Pope Leo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Who just also had a very historic visit to Spain.
Oh, yes,
with 1.2 million gathered
Yes.
to see him. He plays tennis regularly as well.
I didn't know.
And then Yannick Sinner, gave him one of his rackets. And then he asked if that was the original racket, but it was a replica.
May kilala ko, pare ba yung racket? Anyway, corny. Anyway, okay.
Another news, also noted by the Spokes, Dr. Tony Leachon, who is a regular guest here at the Spoke, was suspended for 6 months by the Philippine College of Physicians for serious ethical violations. However, he also countered this by saying na pinopolitika daw po siya. The violations that were cited were defamation, malicious public attacks, and breach of professional ethics. Meanwhile, Dr. Leachon made allegations of corruption, wrongdoing, and conflict of interest against fellow colleagues, meaning fellow doctors. These accusations were made without sufficient professional knowledge or evidence, is what was said.
Yeah, alam mo,
in the
I've known Dr. Leachon, si Leachon, and he has been, especially during the time of COVID, you've been hearing him explaining, and in fairness to the guy, he was really able to explain in layman's terms and for people to understand the problem of COVID, the issue of COVID, and what should be done. And yes, he has been quite critical of how government handled the COVID the pandemic during the previous administration. And I guess, alam mo, at the end of the day, while there is freedom of expression, as we all know, it's guaranteed under the Bill of Rights of the Constitution, meron din kasi sigurong balanse dyan, Margaux, no? Even as lawyers, di ba? Karapatan natin magsalita, ngunit meron din tayong code of ethical standards as lawyers. And you cannot just, for example, publicly criticize a judge or the justice of the Supreme Court or the legal profession as a whole. So I guess ang challenge talaga dyan is paano mo babalansin ang karapatan mo na sabihin ang inyong pananaw and then also to share with the public your views and opinions on certain issues and then balance it with, of course, not destroying the institution.
Yeah, some are saying that it was political ganti daw, vengeance, yung pag-suspend sa kanya. But then at the same time, you're right. He also has to be a little more prudent also, I guess, so as not to step on those who are not actually guilty.
Correct.
So, yeah. So we'll pray for him.
Exactly. Mahirap yan eh. And I recall even DOJ Secretary Herbosa's name was mentioned. DOH rather, Secretary Herbosa's name was questioned. So I guess the public, the question I think that the public are thinking right now, yan ang iniisip ng ating mga kababayan, is how should the medical community, as I mentioned earlier, balance free expression with professional ethics?
I guess they also have to uphold their own standards, and I guess it's also their stand for the other doctors, protecting them as well.
Correct, and I guess same with the legal profession, that's how it should be. And now, these are the headlines noted by the Spokes, and now we will have somebody who is a well-respected guy. I know him personally as well. We have a public policy analyst and strategist of Stratbase Institute. When the Spokes return after this short break. So don't go away. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for joining us. You're watching The Spokes. Political surveys have become more than just numbers. They are now shaping strategy, messaging, and even governance decisions.
What do these numbers really mean for leadership and for the future of the country? Joining us this morning is the President and CEO of Stratbase Group, Professor Victor Andres Manhit. Victor
welcome.
Andres pala, we know him as Dindo.
Yes.
We know him as
Manhit.
Dindo. Welcome to The Spokes, Professor Dindo.
Thank you for the invitation.
Now, before we talk about numbers, Dindo, because I know you're good at numbers as well. I'm not, that's why I took up law. Help us understand your role actually. You don't conduct surveys. You interpret them for policy and political strategy and even for corporate decision-making. So if your group doesn't conduct surveys, which surveys do you get your information from?
We commission surveys.
I
So in
always
this-
thought that you
so,
conducted them.
The idea is to work with a third party to make our analysis more independent, to remove the bias of an institution or an individual. So we have worked since 2004, since we established Stratbase, with both Social Weather Station and Pulse Asia, because of their historical strength. That means they've been around for decades, since the 80s, and have known the capacity of the social scientists behind the two groups.
Although usually when I see po in the newspaper, nakasuot, Stratbase survey.
It's
Pag
commissioned.
ganito, Commissioned.
Commissioned. We could run our own. We have that capacity. It's just that if you want to really test public views with regards broad general issues, it's good to have a third party.
And also, sir, it's not only, usually kasi yung SWS and Pulse, sikat
Yes.
sila for their net satisfaction rating for
trust
the
rating.
president, the vice
Yeah.
president, ganyan, or senators. But you also do this for policy, to influence issues,
Yes.
ranging from...
Not necessarily to influence issues, but to understand where the public stands. We have always believed that governments exist for the general public. So understanding their views with regards to certain issues, both political, economic, even social issues like poverty and hunger, or even West Philippine Sea issue, which is a core advocacy, the security side of Stratbase. So we try to understand and we build and advocate for policy based on what the public thinks, where their views are, because it's good to get the public officials, political decision makers, to understand where the public is.
So you do focus group discussions as well?
That's also another angle. So what we now normally share publicly is quantitative, which
I
is
see.
surveys that captures a broad views of the public, and we break that down into age group, geographic, even educational attainment, even language, or even religion. But the qualitative, if we want to do more probing sense, so to develop, to test some policy ideas.
What are you working on now? Have you explored the Senate issues?
The Senate one, no, not yet. But we have, which is our latest, was May, because exactly the first week of May this year is 2 years before 2028. So we decided to work with Pulse Asia on some questions with regards to our views on issues in the next 2 years, and also personalities. How do we view personalities?
That will be very exciting. Now we'll definitely wait for the results of that survey on the Senate. And now, how do surveys affect long-term policy planning? Maybe this is something that the public, no, ating mga tagapakinig, gusto nilang malaman. Paano ba talaga nakakatulong yung public opinion sa pag-shape ng government decision-making?
Not necessarily to shape it, but it's a good guide to truly understand how the public feels. No? Like at times when I speak of foreign policy issues, defense and security issues, normally countries that are either supportive of our position or even countries that are against us, referring to our northern neighbor China, they always say it's national interest. But when you get to Filipinos, they'll say, what is our national interest? My simple answer to what is our national interest is, where is the Filipino public? I've always respected the public as the core reason why government exists. The Philippine state exists, but government has a term, a 6-year term. I'm referring to right now the Marcos Jr. administration, the Duterte administration. But the general public has their own views, concerns, challenges.
Okay. Very quickly lang, partner, no? I see your point, but if a leader will base his decisions most of the time or solely on the public pulse, meaning to say he is leading by popularity.
Not by popularity, but a good guide simply to understand what the
see.
public wants.
Okay.
Popularity is when you just cater to what the
You
public
pander
wants.
to what the public
But when
wants.
the public tells you, our great concern today is high cost of food.
Inflation.
What will you do with prices of rice? Can you bring down the cost of chicken or pork? That means trying to bring down cost of corn, which is the feeds of, or is it corruption really, which is an issue? Or do I need jobs or income? And when they say income, not necessarily higher wages, but to earn more income. So those things can guide policymakers.
What do you think is the biggest issue today? For the
Yes.
past few administrations, including this present one, the top 3 have always been presyo, trabaho, kita.
Correct.
It's been
Yes.
high prices,
Yes.
jobs, and earning capacity, like how...
The presyo, trabaho, kita was developed actually by former NEDA Secretary Shalito Habito. That's why he calls it PITIC. And because data, surveys, if run scientifically, will come out with the same answers, whoever runs it. So I agree. Presyo, trabaho, kita. But it does not end there. When you say presyo, ano yung presyo? In their case, presyo ng pagkain. That's why people even, then we probe it further, that's why people will say, we are food poor. That means pag tumataas ang presyo ng pagkain, mas mahirap ang feeling namin sa amin sarili. Ngunit, after the SONA of the President last year, July of 2025, when he brought the idea of flood control, it jumped to number 2. So, nahulog ang trabaho, kita, at kahirapan, tumaas ang
corruption.
Corruption.
Kaya siguro dahil siguro no, sa aking pananaw lang, partner, dahil para sa kanila siguro dahil nga nung in-expose ni Pangulong BBM yung malaking skandalo sa flood control pati na sa budget, nakita nila na kaya siguro walang trabaho, walang sa basic services, wala ito, wala yan, walang infrastructure dahil binubulsa lang.
Na mahirap ang buhay, may programa dapat ang gobyerno, mataas pa nga ang buwis, di ba? That means indirect taxes can even affect the cost of this food, ninanakaw pa.
Yun ang sinasabi ni Pinoy dati, di ba? Pag walang corrupt, walang mahirap. And that was a very powerful slogan. And,
it was powerful. It defined his administration. So, but the challenge now kay President Marcos Jr. is really, you brought it out, people want them to be made accountable. And turn even your government into one that is accountable and transparent and ensure that public services are responsive. Yun ang basa ko doon sa datos na yan. Gusto lang maramdaman ang programa ng gobyerno, yat hindi ito ninanakaw.
It's very interesting that from that SONA, the messaging of the president became anti-corruption.
Yes.
And some have commented that that's very rich. Maybe instead of that, he should focus first on dun sa sikmura talaga ng tao. Are the
gut
people
issues, no?
gut issues? How do you reconcile that? Is it something that has do we go first for the gut issues, or do we go for better administration?
Me, it can go hand in hand. It's a parallel effort from a governance point of view, because I'll wear my hat as a governance professor before at the De La Salle University. And that,
Animo.
So when you look at this challenge of governance, you know that if you will make governance more responsive, transparent, accountable, then you can better serve the public. When I use the word responsive, you get to understand what their needs are. A simple concern, mahal ang presyo ng bigas.
Yes.
Paano papababain ang presyo ng bigas? Generate more supply. But sa Pilipinas, you generate more supply, binibuwis pa natin yung import.
Kaso wala pating 20 pesos na pagsabi po ni President,
Of course,
binabatikos din.
Yun ang binabalik-balik ng mga kalaban niya. Pinangako mo yun. Or sabi ko nga, baboy, manok, basic food ng tao. Ba't natin binibuwis ang pagpasok ng corn? So little things. Ako, I always say, when I used to teach public policy, I like to keep it simple, no? Not theoretical. But the survey tells me, ano ba hinahanap ng tao? Next, kuryente, for example. Mabigat ang presyo ng bilihin, mahal pa ang kabuhayan, tapos papatong-patong pa yung buwis. May VAT pa sa dulo. Pampabigat na naman ito sa taong bayan. Kaya I call them, at times, yung inflation sa atin, let's not look at it from the inflation standards of government, but really from the inflation point of view ng tao. Hindi nga nila naintindihan ang inflation. Sa kanila, mahal ang presyo ng bilihin, mahal ang kabuhayan namin. Bakit? Dahil dyan, hirap kami. Kulang pa ang trabaho, kulang pa ang kita. But governance can address that. So it's connected.
So you're trying to say, Dindo, that perhaps the government should really, for example, take away certain taxes or lower it or temporarily suspend it. That, for example, excise tax, the VAT, which actually, in fairness to GMA, no, it was a very unpopular law and bill that was passed. In fact, at that time, it was pushed by then Senator Recto. But we have to agree, I think everybody agrees, that because of the VAT, the country survive economically. So are you then suggesting, based on your discussion, that we should cut down or take away these
There are
taxes?
temporary things that you can do, diba? Kaya
I
nga may
see.
rice tarification. Tapos yung ginawa ni GMA, ay, kaya ako napapangiti, issue of corruption din. Tumakbo siya noong 2004 election. Sabi niya, i-elect niyo ko, magaling ako sa ekonomiya. Pagkapanalo niya, we are in an economic crisis.
Doon po yung famous na moderator greed, diba? Lumabas.
So, yun ang problema. Who carried that burden? The public again. No? But ang maganda doon, it was just an executive order because VAT was just 6%. I'm not saying remove the total VAT, but there are multiple taxes. Kaya nga sinisisi ang isang kumpanya tulad ng Meralco, patong-patong na tax, may 12% pa. Sa taong bayan, si Meralco nagtaas.
No, pero alam naman natin na Meralco is only 17% yung distribution fee.
Regulated pa. Isang
Regulated
halimbawa
na
yan
ERC.
na nahihirapan ng taong bayan without realizing
Yes.
it's the multiple taxes along the way, then you hit them with 12. So again, these are temporary interventions that we need to understand if we really want to feel the public. I've always believed kasi that you have to put the human face of economics. Minsan kasi when you look at economists, they have their own theory, they have their own numbers, but I
Yes.
always say, ano ba yung ramdam ng tao?
I
Ano
think
ba
ang
yung human
hinahanap
face
ng
nila?
tao ngayon, accountability.
Talagang kailangan managot kasi galit sila. No, we run, Social Weather Station ran it, they asked me to react to it nga. Right after the issue of flood control. Galit na galit ng tao, especially in highly populated area. Kasi sila ay nakarinig ng kwento, mga numero, at nais nilang panagutin. Sino ang dapat managot?
Maganda yung tanong mo, partner, because alam mo, nakakakabayan eh. Kasi parang social volcano yan eh. No, nagtitimpi ang taong bayan. Nagtitimpi sila, naghihintay sila na dapat sinong dapat managot. At pag ito ay hindi na-release ang galit ng taong bayan in a legal way, it opens the possibility of people taking advantage of that kind of feeling. Kaya kailangan talaga, tama yung tanong mo, partner, accountability seems to be number one now also. No?
Yes.
The issues being considered by our public na talagang mabigyan tugon na yung issue na yun kung sino ba talaga mga accountable people, and they should face the consequences of their criminal acts.
But President BBM has been on top of this accountability as well.
That's why
especially
kailangan
with
may
the-
pakulong. Remember, pinangako yun nung Disyembre that led to the frustration of our people. Maaring may mga mangyari, mukhang aggressive ang ating ombudsman, evidences. Yun nga lang, we have to always remind ourselves na it has to be based on legal evidences also, not
course.
necessarily political vendetta.
Of course,
So
of
yun ang
course.
dapat din, kasi makikita yun ng tao. Something that we need to factor in also that can shape political environment is the reality that people are often or more so than normal online. So at times, yung pananaw nila sa issue na-apektuhan ng online. That means what comes into their social media, then it affects, could be public opinion, or may nanggugulo sa online. No, I would use the term to destabilize.
Mga trolls, echo
diba?
chambers.
Ayun ang mahirap. Minsan baka pa nga using technology,
Yes.
mga bots or AI technology to generate public hatred on a certain issue. Pero maganda rin na labanan yun with facts. Kaya nga kung may actual steps na gagawin ng gobyerno,
Yes.
yun ang dapat ipakalat.
Well, napasa na on third reading yata yung right to information.
Yes, importante yun.
Popularly
that was
known as
an-
Freedom of access to information. Freedom of
Yun ang
Information
dapat
Act.
nating paalala na. Kasi since pinaltan yung term, baka maganda paalala sa mga
Si Sec Mina nagpalit niyan. Pinagawa niyang right to information. And that was really her
freedom. Ito yung the
advocacy.
same as freedom of information.
Just like
no?
the US, they have a freedom of information. And before I touch on the latest Pulse Asia surveys, no, and pati na ng SWS, quickly lang, when I was still working for then Senator Angara, Ed Angara, we were actually
You
already...
also worked for Senator Ed
Yes.
Edgara, both
And
of you.
Yeah, we both
He
did.
was the first generation.
Ako lang ang hindi nag-Angara.
First generation.
that I came
Angara
out.
6, Angara 7. Na-joke.
Actually, the first Senate after martial law in 87. No? But I wanted just to touch on that. That's a very important, a very good law, the Freedom of Information Act. And we actually already drafted it during that time. But the sad part is, I'm talking about, drafted it in 87, 88. And up to now, ngayon lang siguro magiging batas. And much needed yan.
It shows yung political will ng leadership
Correct.
no, ng House.
Yes.
You have to give credit to that. Sana ganun din sa Senate.
Senado.
Then you have also the political dynasties that
Yes.
creates this image that political power is concentrated of you. So
Yes.
imagine if this becomes a legislative record of
Correct.
President
Maganda yun.
Bongbong
Maganda
Marcos
yun.
Jr.
Oh,
diba?
for the first time, no? On these things.
Lumusot itong mga ilang dekada ng pinaglalaban ng mga good governance advocate.
Correct.
Malapit na po ang State of the Nation address.
Maybe we can expect that, no?
Yeah, maybe what can he state at the what is the State of the Nation? What for you? What should be his big message?
The president has to use it as an opportunity to say, I raised the issue of corruption, and we have made people accountable, and we will continue to make people accountable. Then I've created legislative...
Maniniwala ba tao?
Yun ang test kaya sa akin, di ba? So kailangan
Yan po maniniwala tao.
kailangan i-rush ang mga ebidensya at issue at mga kaso. No? Pero kailangan din ipasok yung right to information, freedom of
Transparency,
information. At saka i-champion pa rin niya yung political dynasties. That cannot be that cannot be limited to the version of the House, which is second degree. Kailangan siguro i-move natin to something acceptable to the general public.
Alam mo, before I touch again on the Pulse Asia survey, no? Kasi ito importante ito. Since you mentioned the dynasty, isa sa mga, dun sa aming isang programa, abogado, tinanong ko nga yung mga bisita namin dun, no? Sabi ko, up to now, I'm just a bit, in a bit of a conundrum. Kasi parang, sa ating saligang batas, sa Constitution, sinasabi nga that an anti-dynasty bill should be passed. Knowing because the framers knew na dynasty is not good for the country, and empirical data has shown that. Pero hindi ko lang maintindihan, while gusto mong tanggalin yung dynasty, you give it to Congress to pass a law. So, why will the congressmen pass a law contrary to their own interest? Well, anyway, that's another matter we can discuss in
And
another
it's exactly
program
a conundrum.
altogether. Yes, exactly. But going lang to the Pulse Asia survey, no, BBM trust ratings now is 36%, 44% distrust, di ba? And VP trust rating naman kay VP Sara is 54% trust and 26% distrust. So in other words, umangat si Sara, but from what I understand, slowly bumababa. Now, in SWS naman, March 2026 survey, BBM net satisfaction rating was at negative 15%, and VP Sara's net satisfaction rating was at 29%. Now, what does trust and satisfaction rating, para maintindihan nating mga tagapakinig, tell about our president and our vice president?
I'll focus on trust. No?
Okay.
Sa akin is pag may pagtitiwala sa'yo, ang taong bayan, maganda ang pagtingin sa performance. Kaya minsan malapit ang numero of both. But sa akin, at the root cause of that, of course, this is my personal views, is may pagtitiwala. Yung pagtitiwala ng Pangulo, so we see it not on a quarter per se, but historical. It really started going down middle of 2024. And at that time, the issue was inflation.
So it's way before the corruption issues.
Yes.
It already started going down.
Oo, ganun din si VP Sara.
Bumababa din siya.
Bumababa rin siya. Kay VP Sara naman because of the issue of response to allegations on
Sa
her,
DepEd.
Sa DepEd. But she was able to recover March 11 last year. That means the first quarter because of the arrest of the father.
Yes.
It created some
Was it a sympathy?
It could be
trust?
sympathy, and also they control the narrative. They
Which-
position themselves as a victim.
Which caused the losing of the administration
Of
candidate
some
in the
of the
Senate.
Senate.
Yeah.
But the president was recovered June of 2025. Recovered. It went up. And I noticed why. The prices of food went down. There were a lot of interventions that happened from the election of May to the end of June. Then he announced corruption. That he failed to control the effects on it. It pulled him down again.
Do you think that was a mistake for him to be the one to champion this?
No, for me,
expose the flood control corruption.
For
issues?
somebody who's an advocate of good governance, it's something that we want to happen. Politically, maybe it should not have been him, or they should have been prepared.
It should have been somebody else to expose it.
Or mahirap kasi if who is that person. Kasi maganda if they control the narrative on it. Because what happened was, binalik sa kanya. Yung, di ba, you are the president, you controlled everything. No?
Maybe that's the difference between narrative and truth.
Could
You
be.
cannot have just a message, but you
Dapat
have to
may
actually have
substance.
good
Oo.
governance.
That's why very important na anything that you push as a narrative has to be, I always say, factfulness. The idea that behind it is actual facts and even actions if it's needed. Something that I'd like to point out also, where Filipinos tend to be fascinated with higher, I don't even say high rating of VP Sara. But VP Sara's rating is not as high as Leni Robredo and VP Binay during their time. Leni was 60, even though she was attacked. So si VP Sara is higher than the president, but everybody should remember that we blame everything on the president for all our concerns because he's the head of government. Historically. Even VP Binay hit 90%. When Illinois was getting 80%.
That's
and
true.
And media cannot get it. I said, because nobody blames a vice president. You get to blame the president. President Marcos hit 70% before the inflation challenges came in.
Correct.
2023, he was hitting 70%. So that's where our challenge is. No? On one hand, VP Sara needs to address the issues against her, especially with the impeachment court in the Senate. On the part of the president, understand what the public wants. You have, for me, I've always said, you have government, you have the budget, you have programs. Make sure it's felt by the public. It doesn't go through the political machinery. And I think that's where the success of Aquino Noynoy before, because it went straight to the poor. Yung PPP program. No?
May PPP pa rin naman ngayon.
Saan dumadaan? Dati, diretso sa taong bayan.
Ngayon through the politicians?
I'm not saying politicians, but sana nararamdaman, di ba? Kasi dagdagan mo pa si PPP sa ayuda, dumadaan through different mechanisms. Instead of
DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian is doing an excellent job.
Oh, yeah, he is.
That's why. Kailangan maramdaman ng tao. Pero remember the big issue on ayuda because nagkaroon ng political angle ang pag-distribute.
Meron daw pong phone in talaga. Makita may generation gap. Meron pong message from our audience. VP Sara daw, wala naman siyang masyadong ginagawa. But mas mataas pa rin yung ratings niya. Why is that? But of course,
it's really the reality, as I've said, that VP Sara, on her part, walang ginagawa, pero wala rin nasisisi sa kanya. On the day-to-day issue of mahirap ang bilihin.
So, medyo tahimik siya ngayon.
Tahimik. But on the governance, kaya nga, as I've said, paghihimayin natin yung datos ng SWS at saka ng PULSE, paghihimayin yan, baka lalabas na kaya 50 plus lang or 51, 53% lang ang trust. Nasaan yung 40 plus?
Pero baka yan yung strategy dapat. Huwag na lang magsalita. Less talk, less mistakes.
Kawawa naman din ang bayan natin if we will elect or consider somebody trustworthy. So magandang to put them all to a test of accountability and good governance. So yun ang lamang lagi natin isipin, ang Pangulo, siya ang nananagot para sa lahat ng sumasabit, kapalpakan ng gobyerno. Ang Vice Presidente nag-iintay lamang. No? At pag hindi nga naghasalta, hindi nababatikos din.
Now, ito yung tinatawag na portion namin sa programang ito, Dindo, yung tinatawag namin hanging question.
Suspense.
Will survey numbers of VP Sara Duterte change once the impeachment trial begins? But before you answer this, the spokes will return after this short break. So don't go away. Stay with us.
The Spokes is back, still with Professor Dindo Manhit. Our hanging question, will survey numbers of VP Sara Duterte change once the impeachment trial begins?
The simple answer to that is yes, if the evidences are strong and if the accusations, she fails to answer them. Why? 2024, when all these issues was brought about by the so-called Tri-Committee, remember the House of Representatives, her surveys went down even below 50% already. Yeah. But again, she was able to recover. At that time, we have not seen the evidences that is being laid down now. So if the Senate allows all these evidences to be discussed and the team of VP Sara does not answer it, or she herself will not be responsive to the questions on this issue of corruption. No? For me, the weakest spot for the Vice President on the 4 cases against her in the impeachment is the misuse of public funds and also the idea of where did the wealth come from. Especially the amount of money that's really staggering. Lalo pag naintindihan ng taong bayan, gaano kalaki yung pumasok sa bangko niya when he was just a public official. So she needs to address that. If not, that will be challenging for her moving forward.
Do you feel that there should be an impeachment trial at all? Hindi ba dapat magtrabaho na lang yung ating mga senador? And as a follow-up question, hindi kaya nagkakagulo ngayon sa Senado is just to derail the impeachment trial as well?
Good question.
This
partner.
impeachment issue has been hanging since January 2025.
Yes,
at
it's delayed.
At yung kaguluhan is based on also the actions of partisanship. Diba? So for me, I've always believed, no, my history of working with them, like Senator Soto and Senator Ping Lacson and others were even cooperative during the time of President Duterte.
Correct.
Right? So how come suddenly they are being perceived or being projected as partisan? Or is it simply a cover-up of the other side? So for me, the best is simply to discuss these things publicly. You cannot just say, let's not address this. No? And for me, the Senate is very simple. Who controls the majority controls the Senate.
Ganun naman
In
talaga
my
sa
years
numbers
of
game.
in the Senate, and I've served 3 Senate presidents. You suddenly wake up the following day, there's a new Senate president. At least, but it's a 13th. No, but there are days that 12, so yun ang something that needs to be settled in the session hall.
That's
of
right.
Congress.
We forgot to mention...
Unsteady is
sorry.
the head that wears the crown. Yan ang ano sa Senate presidency. Di ba?
We forgot to mention earlier that Professor Dindo Manhit was Deputy
Secretary.
Secretary at the
Correct.
Senate.
At the Senate.
3 Senate
Yes.
presidents.
3 Senate presidents.
And
Yeah,
we
that's right.
we worked sort of interlocking years perhaps.
So nakailang impeachment trial na po kayo?
Impeachment, I left government. I left Senate ng impeachment na. Because I was in the Department of Education during Estrada.
Yes.
Because I had Stratbase already during Corona.
No, you know, during the break, di ba? Medyo we touched on this, no? Pinag-usapan natin during the break. When you see Sara Duterte in the surveys, no, and Rafi Tulfo neck to neck, this early, ganun kaaga pa, no, neck to neck sila. What does that signal about the 2028 race?
That 2028 is actually very much open. No?
Okay.
But it's about consolidating your support. The survey that we're quoting is a commission survey by former Senate President Mig Subiri, where it became a one-on-one.
Yes.
And in that one-on-one, Rafi Tulfo was quite strong in the Luzon area.
Okay.
And that strength was able to overcome the 90% or the 91% of Sara Duterte in Mindanao. In that same time period also, we saw that VP Leni is below 8%, 10%, again, because of the 90% of Luzon. But not as strong si VP Leni, as strong as Rafi Tulfo. But again, as I've said, in the Philippines, always remember that 59% of our vote comes from Luzon. A little, 24% comes from Mindanao. Visayas is the smallest group at 21 or 22. So when you will look at those numbers, whoever wins Luzon is the next president. You just need to neutralize Mindanao, which was also an example of how there was a failed campaign for the Senate for President Marcos in 2025. They should have used other means, capacities, using political networks and coalition to bring down the support for the Dutertes. 90% is quite high. That can be neutralized. A mere 70% brings that down to a statistical tie between Leni Robredo and VP Sara. So a lot of possibilities still. 2 years to the election.
So do you
politics,
think-
you know, a week is long in politics.
yes.
What more is 2 years?
Do you think we will have a Tulfo presidency in 2028?
I'm not sure if it's a tool for presidency. It could be a tool for presidency or vice presidency. It could be a coalition that brings together one faction, one coalition against the Sara Duterte coalition. That would be nice. I would like to see a one-on-one, so it really defines for us where
Mano a mano. Mano-one.
where political
Yes.
support would be. Then it creates also, like I think 2010, no? Even though there are multiple candidates, but after a while it becomes a Villar and a Noynoy Aquino. So it created simple choice for people. It would be good also come 2020.
Sinasabi ni Senator Rafi, no, na hindi naman talaga daw siya may balak tumakbo kasi he wants to be re-elected kasi.
Yes, yun ang challenge
Paano yan?
kay...
Do you think it's a strategy or...
It's also a reality
okay.
for Senator Raffy Tulfo kasi nga, it could be an easy battle for him, for the Senate.
What about the underdogs, like the ones that we don't usually hear about but would make good presidents? For example, Tito Soto or Ping Lacson.
I think they could be senior statesmen. That means, I believe that...
Maganda pong presidente, senior statesman na lang daw.
Because of conversations that I've had with them, but they could build that alternative coalition. Because what we're seeing in the Senate right now is the coalition of the old yellows, pinks, with the independents.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
And when you see that, if the current 12 of Senator Soto and Senator Ping with Senator Win Gatchalian can be a broad coalition for an alternative to a SARA coalition.
How about Leni Robredo?
Leni Robredo, I believe, has that, you'd say, awareness level for public. Is now building her brand using mayors for good governance. So basically an answer to accountability and has been known to be, remember yung compassionate approach niya, the NGO work, Kalinga. So she can address both issues. And that's where, again, she's from Luzon. So if she can neutralize the strength of a Duterte in Luzon, she could be a formidable candidate.
How about Risa Ontiveros, Senator Risa?
With Senator Risa, it's a great challenge because when she ran for national election, is that she came 11 or 12 in the Senate. And we choose 1 to 12. So that's why even for those who have won number 1 and number 2 in the Senate, I always tell them, doesn't follow that you will be strong in a one-on-one. So, but if there really is an opposition that is built around the idea of making people accountable, addressing people's needs, she can rise. But right now, that position is in the hands of VP Leni Robredo.
Why do you think are they pushing for Risa? I mean, won't she break the Leni Robredo run?
It will divide the
that is
the kapinks, di ba?
That is for me hard to answer why. First, it's too early. I always tell people when I last ran a presidential campaign, my candidate declared January and ran a campaign February. So it's too really early to position yourself. I'm referring to Fernando po at the time, no? But now, it's too early, maybe just to build or check if there is enough support for her. But I think at the end of the day, these are people that have worked, fought battles politically in the past. I think they will settle who will be that number one.
One more for the presidential elections.
Yes.
Some people are saying that maybe we need somebody who is not in government. There have been talks
maybe a
for,
businessman.
like Ramon Ang, Manny Pangilinan. But Ramon Ang matunog.
Sabi nyo, hindi sabi ng taong bayan.
I see. So, iba pa rin talaga yung nasa politika, nasa governance ngayon. Now, we go to the portion, Dindo, kasi ito talaga part ng programa namin to, yung tinatawag namin tough questions. For a tough guy like you, I'm sure it's easy for you to answer. Now, first tough question. You take on critics, your take rather on critics, saying commission surveys are just mere echo chambers.
We all studied statistics in school. Diba? Kahit nga high school.
I barely passed statistics.
I barely passed it also. But we all
statistics in high school.
We all studied that.
Correct.
No? So, number one, no campaign does not use qualitative and quantitative. Anyone who says that.
I see.
And that's why will Pulse Asia, Social Weather Station, and other survey firms now have existed since the 1980s. Because people use them, be guided by them. And the first thing I do when I used to run campaigns, I tell a candidate, please fund a survey. If he tells me he does not, and I said, if you cannot even fund a survey, how can we do battle?
Yes.
And I have this history of some people like that question me. So what I told the friends of that candidate, I'll just mention it later.
Okay, very, very quickly.
Because, example, what I did, I brought them into a qualitative discussion.
I see.
And I said, 1 hour na. Wala pa nagbabanggit ng kaibigan nyo. Just to show that,
na talaga,
at times, yung akala nyong siya yung number one, siya yung malakas. kayo-kayo lang nag-uusap.
Speaking of the importance of surveys.
Yeah, partner, before you
Okay,
ask
go
the
ahead.
second tough question, very quickly lang. Kasi we've also shown, we've seen rather, globally, not only locally, na mga surveys were actually really proven wrong. It happened in Britain, and it happened in the United States. In fact, even during the time of the presidential battle between Truman and Dewey, even one newspaper, major American newspaper, already printed in advance that Dewey won the presidency. So in other words, surveys
Are
proven
snapshot
wrong.
of public opinion. Surveys are snapshot. What does
Okay.
it mean? Then the machine works.
I
So if I
see.
was handling the campaign of the senators of President Marcos in 2025,
Yes.
I saw the survey in March
Yes.
that they're getting hit by the arrest of President
Yes.
Duterte. Then I could have adjusted my machine and deliver votes. But they avoided Mindanao. Instead of fighting in Mindanao, fighting in the Visayas.
Guiding light daw siya. Yeah, at the most, it's a guiding light. So speaking of surveys as a
Yes.
guiding light, the current net trust rating of the president is at -15. So what can the president do? What do these surveys say? What can the president do to bring it up at least before 2028 and leave a good legacy?
Surveys is going down in a lower 30s. That's basically what SWS is telling us. That means 7 out of 10 Filipinos are not happy with the performance of the president. So how can you perform better? I go back. Ano ba yung hinahanap ng taong bayan? Tulungan nyo kaming ayusin yung kabuhayan namin. Mahirap ang buhay, mahal ang bilihin. Paano natin mapapababa? Hindi to through ayuda. Ayuda kasi isang bigayan, dalawang bigayan. Ang gusto ng tao, we can earn, may trabaho kami, bibili kami. No? Tulad ng bakit malakas ang pangalang Duterte nung panahon ng COVID? Simple lang yan. Pagtatanungin yung agricultural sector, pinaba ang presyo ng bigas. People felt it. They did not need ayuda. They bought on their own. Diba? Paano kung mapapababa natin ang presyo ng manok at baboy? Sa akin, may hirap pakalman yan kung hindi natin papakalman ng feeds, which is corn. Ganun din sa trabaho. How can we ensure that investments are created for jobs to be created? We cannot keep on talking about investment, growth, kung walang investment that creates jobs.
Okay.
At panagutin ang dapat managot sa mga pagnanakaw sa ating bayan.
In fact, they're saying now that yung ayuda, ayaw na ng tao, they would prefer na talagang tanggalin na lang yung specific items from the VAT para they're able to spend more and not just rely on the 5,000 pesos
yeah.
ayuda.
Now, our last tough question, partner. Now, how would you reconcile, no? At ito, magandang no? Tanong talaga dahil how do you reconcile that 70% ng ating mga kababayan are saying yes, the impeachment trial against Vice President Sara Duterte should continue. But at the same time, VP Sara is still enjoying a 54% trust rating. Bakit?
Kasi nanais sila na managot din or sagutin ni VP Sara. You might find her trustworthy, but there's a doubt if she will not answer. Ang tawag natin dyan is soft support para kay VP Sara. Kasi we have always known na historical, based on the two survey firms, nasa 30% ang base ng Duterte. So kung ganun, bawas natin yung 54, may 24 dyan, we call it soft support. Pag hindi niya harapin ang katanungan ng pagnanakaw, pagdami ng kayamanan na hindi naman mapaliwanag, bababayan. So siguro hinahanap lang ng tao, just like they're asking the president, panagutin ang dapat managot din siya sa mga issue na binabatikos laban sa kanya.
So in other words, kailangan po matuloy yung impeachment.
Kailangan matuloy kasi at madaming bagay. Kasi at the end of the day, we need a government na nananagot o pinananagot ang may katiwalian.
Tsaka kailangan abangan kasi yung susunod na kabanata sa teleserye na yun eh. So abangan po natin first week of July.
Senate Flicks.
Yes, Senate Flix. Thank you so much, Professor Dindo Manhit. It's been a pleasure speaking with you this morning.
Well, definitely. Numbers do not only measure public opinion, they reveal the direction of public doubts.
And when the future is uncertain and people are dissatisfied, clarity sparks on whom to vote for on Election Day. I'm former spokesperson Margaux Salcedo.
And I'm former Press Secretary Mike Toledo. And please, do not come out with anyone else in this show.
Seloso! Pero may dagdag ako dyan. Alam mo naman na natutunan natin kay Erap,
Oo.
ang asawa hindi iniiwanan, dinadagdagan.
Okay.
Oh,
And
just
on
joke
that
lang po
note-
yan. Do not follow that.
On that note,
we are the
spokes.